I'm Susan Bassey. I'm filming and I need some important records and I need access to them.
She was completely ignored and thrown to the wolves by Judge James Towery, and we are here to get her some justice because no mother should ever have to go through what Jen has gone through.
This is Susan Bassey, and I want to introduce you to Corrigan, one of my Facebook friends, because on Sunday I got bumped from a flight and found myself in Phoenix, Arizona, and Corrigan and I had an opportunity to connect. And by Wednesday, Corrigan took a flight and came out to Silicon Valley, and within 2 days, she managed to get information to wrap up an important investigation into one of the most crooked and corrupt judges in Silicon Valley, Judge James Towery.
On behalf of Julian's father, his actual parent, and in doing that, we'll have the ability to file missing persons reports and any welfare checks with Child Protective Services, and any other avenue that an actual parent in this country would have to be able to claim the rights to their child.
And Corrigan is what many of you on this channel might refer to as a badass. She found an order issued by James Towery requiring a mother to appear at a hearing in his family court department at midnight, when the family court is closed. And at that hearing, Judge Towery denied the mother a right to an attorney, completely ignored the biological father who was on the birth certificate, and stripped custody from both the mother and the father of this little boy, and gave custody to a white father in Los Gatos, with the help of the Los Gatos Police Department. And Corrigan knew every detail of this story.
Explain to me what it was like when you were, so you get arrested, they call you the dominant aggressor, and they put you in jail. What was that like?
Well, for me, because I never had any entanglements with the crime, and I came from the Philippines where it was simple. Life was just simple. I did not have any experience with the law or police officers or jail like that. When I first arrived in the U.S., I did not have anybody. I did not know anybody. And when I first got arrested, and I barely understood what was going on, I was handcuffed for the first time. I was sitting in the back of a police car for the first time.
And this was Los Gatos Police?
Yes, this is Los Gatos Police. And I thought for sure I was the victim because I was the one who got punched and was on the ground and assaulted by all of them. And apparently I was the one who was placed in jail for 3 days. And
How did they speak to you? Did they talk? Did they have an interpreter to ask you what was happening?
No.
How was your English at that time?
Oh, my English was bad at that time. I just arrived in the U.S. for like a few months.
So you were barely able to articulate any real.
Yeah, to explain anything.
All you had on you to show what happened was.
I'm going to explain this very slowly, because just when I thought that I heard everything possible, when it came to Judge Towery's cases, Corrigan introduced me to this case. This case involved 2 Filipino parents who had a child. They didn't want to come to America, but the mother married an American citizen, and he brought her back to Los Gatos, California. They kept her in the garage with her young son. And in 2012, there was a domestic violence incident, and the Los Gatos police didn't believe her. They said her cheeks were just red because she was mad. And they called her the dominant aggressor, and they threw her in jail. And 5 years later, as the divorce dragged on in front of Judge Emity and Judge Towery, Jeff Rosen prosecuted the husband and had him in jail for 9 months on a $1.2 million bail.
Of course I believe he's a possible danger to the public.
And the judges in both cases are James Stoker and James Towery.
And as her ex-husband was in jail, James Towery slowly stripped her custody of her own child and then ordered her to pay her ex-husband $831 a month in child support for a child that wasn't his and who was being cared for by his brother.
To pay him $831 a month in child support while he was incarcerated.
And he ordered her to pay his attorney $40,000 when the attorney only asked for $7,000.
And we can't find Ian.
And I need access to records that are about the policies and procedures for the jail and children visiting in the jail. That's okay. I am following this story, and
Not only are we investigating this story, we brought along some of our camera people to make sure it was fully documented.
Hi, this is Jason.
Jason, this is Susan Bassey, and I'm on a recorded line, and you don't have to speak if you don't want, but I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this before I run this and start asking questions, because you might want to know what I now know. When I referred two clients to you, I was unaware of one client that you had represented since 2012, when Elena Berg's case started. And that client involves Jason Lugresi. And I have now researched those criminal files. I have researched everything in the family law files, and we are taking this issue on an international sex trafficking case to the federal government. And I wanted to know if you have any comment about that, because I have reviewed the case files of that case in front of James Towery, and I referred a client to you who was in front of James Towery at the time. And had I known what you were doing in front of James Towery and what you were allowing to happen to a woman whose child wasn't even born in the United States, I would not have referred you. And I understand that you were being paid by members of the Latter-day Saints Church. And I am now investigating that on part of that. And I also understand that you tithe 10% of your money to the church as well. And so we are going to be looking at those funds. And I want to know if you have any comment.
I didn't represent Jason Lugaresi. I represented Jenny Lynn Lugaresi.
Yes, you did. And you knew that her child was born in the Philippines, and you knew that James Towery awarded custody to a man who was not the child's father. In violation...
Margaret Johnson was the judge in the initial, and it wasn't custody. He was found to be a putative father under Family Code 7611, I believe it is.
While she was under your representation, she was ordered to pay him child support of $800 a month while he was incarcerated, and she lost custody of her child, and you did not object and you did not defend her.
I didn't represent her when he was incarcerated. I was out of the case by then.
You represented her when she lost custody of her biological child.
I represented her when he was named as a putative father of the child. I was not representing her when she lost custody. I don't know what happened after I left the case.
Well, Jason, it's kind of a problematic case, and you seem to be in a lot of those cases.
Okay.
Jason, this is sex trafficking. Jason Lugresi went over to the Philippines when that woman was 12 years old. He then married her. He kept her captive in a garage. I've seen the pictures of the garage. Have you ever seen them? And you could not get a domestic violence restraining order against him because Los Gatos called her the dominant aggressor? Is
there anything else? Because I don't have any comment.
Jason, the federal authorities are going to be looking into this. That child is of Philippine descent. The child was not born here, and James Towery and Margaret Johnson gave that child to a man who had no legal right, completely denying due process to the actual birth father who is on the birth certificate.
Okay. I have no comment. Is there anything else?
Jason, you accepted cases in front of Judge Towery when you knew. Did you know that I believe you were the attorney of record when James Towery scheduled a hearing at midnight? Did you know that?
I was not involved in any midnight hearings. And like I said, I have no further comment, and I do have to run. I have to go pick up children. Is there anything else?
Did you only withdraw because the people from the Latter-day Saints Church stopped paying you?
I have no comment. So, all right? Thank you.
Of course I believe he's a possible danger to the public.
And the judges in both cases are James Stoker and James Towery.
And as I sat in the sheriff's office waiting for my records and thinking of all of the children and families James Towery has destroyed over the course of his career, I was reminded that the children are watching as I met this woman.
How to have better days or like just to overcome obstacles because I've been through a lot as a child. So.
Tell me the name of your YouTube channel.
Jocelyn Pomachit, P-H-O-M-M-A-C-H-I-T, and then my first name is Jocelyn.
And you came over because you heard what?
How passionate you were, and you just don't take no for an answer, and I respect your passion, and I just wanted to meet you guys, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And where are you from?
I'm from San Jose, California.
Great.
I'm just trying to teach people how to have like a better day. So.
Great.
And just as we started to worry about some of the money that we have to pay for some of the costs of our work, we got a little shout out and a little help from some of our subscribers here on YouTube who wanted to remind us of how important our work is.
All right, thank you. All right, bye. What can I do for you?
I waited 3.5 hours for a record that should be a simple public access. Jessica told me she was going to help me. I really need those records. This is really newsworthy. This is a very big deal. I don't understand why I didn't even get the courtesy of...
I'm going to give you the number to the public information officer.
I have all the numbers. Can somebody please call her? She left for the day.
I think so.
So she just slipped out the back and didn't...
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. What's your name and badge number?
Deputy Sykes, 1663.
Thank you, Deputy Sykes.
Okay, have a good day.
And while Sheriff Smith's failure to assure that I have a right to access and inspect records in her department is certainly frustrating, it's not going to get her indicted. And I know that overall, Sheriff Smith has gotten a bum rap from the local media, and she also has been more protective of victims in this county than our own prosecutor, who has posed at every mainstream media opportunity to pretend as if he's a big protector of rape victims, as those rape victims have cases dismissed and receive checks for only $434.
I do. I filed 2 police reports with the sheriffs, maybe 3, but I need to get copies of those. Do you know how I go about getting copies?
You need to put in a request though.
Okay, is it in writing? I think I have 3 that I need to get. Mm-hmm.
And, it was issued from the sheriff's office.
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes.
I can give you the form, but I will not be able
Yeah, the form is fine.
And it was the following day when Corrigan was working up in San Francisco and I was working in San Jose that we were able to solve this investigation and put all the pieces together.
So back in Massachusetts, where I lived prior to moving, there was a lot of corrupt practices in the district attorney's office, and the community was paying attention, and people were starting to notice that the guy just wasn't doing his job. And then, somehow some other guy got appointed, and he also was not worthy of having the title of being a district attorney. We were done with the corruption, done with all of the behind the scenes favoritism, brown nosing, ass kissing, all of that stuff that should not come to somebody in that kind of position. And the community rallied together, and we were able to get District Attorney Andrea Harrington elected into the District Attorney's office.
So just like I told you, Corrigan is a badass. Only this time, she's come to California to join all of us. And we're not just going for a recall. We're going for an indictment of Jeff Rosen, of religious leaders that look like Jeff Rosen, of Judge James Towery, and some divorce lawyers who have really messed things up for some families in Silicon Valley.
Jeff Rosen's fucking corrupt.